Secretary, that the relationship between this country and the West Indies and Caribbean is inextricable. The first British ships arrived in the Caribbean in 1623, and despite slavery, despite colonisation, 25,000 Caribbeans served in the First World War and Second World War alongside British troops. When my parents and their generation arrived in this country under the Nationality Act of 1948, they arrived here as British citizens. It is inhumane and cruel for so many of that Windrush generation to have suffered so long in this condition, and for the Secretary of State only to have made a statement today on this issue. Can she explain how many have been deported?
Right. So picture this. You're David Lammy, Justice Secretary, sat in your office, probably sipping a lukewarm tea, thinking you've cracked the code to Britain's court backlog crisis. You unveil your master plan with all the confidence of someone who's just solved a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. And then 39 of your own MPs essentially tell you to shove it. Welcome to Labour in 2025, everyone, where the Civil War isn't just for the Conservatives anymore. Quick favour, if you're enjoying this chaos as much as I am, smash that subscribe button. Over 94% of you watching haven't yet. It's free, takes literally 2 seconds, and honestly, it means the absolute world to us. Cheers if you did. Right, back to the political carnage. Now, let me set the scene properly. David Lammy, in what can only be described as a moment of either brilliant innovation or complete madness depending on who you ask, announced plans to drastically limit jury trials. His proposal? Reserve juries only for the really serious stuff, rape, murder, and cases where you're looking at more than 3 years behind bars. Everything else? Well, you get a magistrate. Mate, no jury of your peers for you. It's like ordering a full English breakfast and being told you can only have the beans and toast because they are backed up in the kitchen. The reasoning behind this wheeze: the Crown Court backlog. And fair play, it is absolutely massive. We're talking about a system so clogged up it makes the M25 on a Friday evening look efficient. But here's where it gets spicy. Carl Turner, Labour MP for Hull East, wasn't having any of it. Not one bit. He's gathered 38 of his Labour colleagues, including the legendary Diane Abbott, mother of the House of Commons herself, and penned a letter to Sir Keir Starmer that's basically the parliamentary equivalent of, "Are you having a laugh?" Now, what makes this particularly juicy is that these aren't just any old backbenchers. This is largely the left wing of the party, the same crowd who've been giving Starmer grief since before he even warmed the Prime Minister's chair properly. And Turner didn't just send a polite letter. Oh no, he went on social media, because of course he did, and announced that many more MPs not even on the letter have promised to rebel if necessary. That's not just a warning shot across the bow. That's loading the cannons and asking if anyone fancies a mutiny. Let me read you a bit of what they actually wrote, because honestly, it's quite something. They branded the government proposals an ineffective way of dealing with a crippling backlog in cases in our criminal justice system. Not ineffective, not potentially problematic, an ineffective way. That's your own MPs telling you your homework is rubbish before you've even handed it in. But here's where they really twisted the knife. They called limiting jury trials for such marginal gains madness and said it will cause more problems than it solves. When your own team is using words like madness, you know you're not exactly winning hearts and minds. It's like being a chef and having your sous chefs tell you the menu is inedible. Now, before we go any further, let's talk about what jury trials actually mean in this country. They are not just some quaint tradition we keep around like Morris dancing or arguing about how to pronounce scone. Trial by jury is literally one of the cornerstones of British justice, dating back centuries. It's the idea that you're judged by ordinary people, your peers, not just some legal expert who might have gotten out of the wrong side of the bed that morning. It's democracy in action, right there in the courtroom. The MP's letter makes this point beautifully. They wrote, "The drastic restriction of the right to trial by jury is not a silver bullet. To limit a fundamental right for what will make a marginal difference to the backlog, if any, is madness." See what they did there? They are not just saying it's a bad idea. They are questioning whether it'll even work. That's like someone proposing you cut off your leg to lose weight. Sure, technically the number on the scales goes down, but have we really solved the problem here? And this is where it gets properly interesting, because the rebellious MPs didn't just complain. They came with alternatives. Actual, concrete suggestions. They pointed out that around 130,000 sitting days are available to courts, but despite having capacity crisis, they are restricting sitting days by 20,000 a year. Let that sink in. We've got a backlog crisis, but we're deliberately not using all the court time we have available. It's like complaining your house is messy whilst keeping the Hoover locked in a cupboard. The government's grand plan to increase sitting days by 5,000? The MPs call that still a substantial shortfall, which is parliamentary speak for, you're not even close, mate. They're essentially saying Lammy's offering a plaster when what's needed is major surgery. But my absolute favorite bit of this letter, the bit that made me actually laugh out loud, was this gem. This problem was not caused by jurors, nor will it be fixed by their eradication from public duty. Every day during the Second World War, juries continue to sit, reverting from 12 to 7 jurors. We are not at war. Imagine writing that. During the Blitz, with bombs literally falling on London, we managed to keep jury trials going. We just used 7 people instead of 12. But now, in 2025, with no war, no bombs, just administrative incompetence, we're proposing to bin the whole thing? The shade of it all is magnificent. Now, Sir Keir Starmer, bless him, has tried to calm the waters. When Carl Turner confronted him at Prime Minister's questions last week, Starmer assured everyone that juries will remain a cornerstone of our justice system for the most serious cases. Which is lovely, except that's exactly what people are worried about. Who decide what's serious? Today it's cases over 3 years. Tomorrow? Next year? Where does it end? And here's the thing that's really got people's knickers in a twist. There's been talk about putting a sunset clause on these proposals. Essentially, that means once the backlog is cleared, jury trials will be restored to all the cases they previously applied to. You know, like when you tell yourself you're only going on a diet until summer. Except governments have a funny habit of temporary measures becoming permanent. Income tax was supposed to be temporary to fund the Napoleonic Wars. How did that work out? The political dynamics here are absolutely fascinating. Starmer's got a massive majority, the biggest Labour's had in ages. He should be able to pass pretty much anything he wants. But here's the rub. When 39 of your own MPs are willing to publicly tell you they think your policy is nonsense and they are threatening to rebel, that majority starts feeling a bit less comfortable. It only takes a certain number of rebels to make your life very difficult indeed. And it's not just about the numbers. It's about the optics. Labour spent years, literal years, attacking Conservatives for eroding civil liberties, for being authoritarian, for not respecting British values and traditions. And now, they are in government proposing to significantly limit one of the most fundamental rights in British justice. The irony is so thick you could spread it on toast. David Lammy himself must be having an interesting time of it. He has been Justice Secretary for less than 6 months and is already facing a potential backbench rebellion on a flagship policy. That's got to sting, especially when you consider that tackling the court backlog is genuinely important. Nobody's disputing that. The backlog is a disaster. It's creating injustice every single day. Victims waiting years for cases to be heard. Defendants on bail for months or years. It's absolutely unacceptable. But here's where Lammy and his team might have miscalculated. They've gone for what looks like a quick fix, a way to process more cases faster, without properly considering whether the cure might be worse than the disease. It's the political equivalent of trying to solve traffic congestion by banning cars. Sure, technically there'd be less traffic, but you've created a whole new set of problems. The alternatives suggested by the rebel MPs aren't sexy. Increasing sitting days, investing in more courts, hiring more judges and staff. These things cost money and take time. They are not the sort of bold, headline-grabbing policies that governments love, but they might actually work without fundamentally altering one of the basic rights that British people have enjoyed for centuries. And that's really what this comes down to. It's about priorities. What are we willing to sacrifice for efficiency? Because that's what this is really about. Lammy's proposal is essentially saying, we value clearing the backlog more than we value preserving jury trial for a wide range of offences. And a significant chunk of the Labour Party is saying, actually, no. Some things are more important than administrative convenience. The comparison to the Second World War that those MPs made is genuinely powerful. If we could maintain jury trials during the most existential crisis this country has faced in modern times, when resources were stretched to breaking point and half of London was getting bombed, then surely we can figure out how to maintain them now. The fact that they reduced jury size from 12 to 7 rather than abandoning juries altogether shows that even in the darkest times, we understood their fundamental importance. What happens next is anybody's guess. Starmer could back down, which would be a massive embarrassment but might be the smart political move. He could try to negotiate some kind of compromise, maybe watering down the proposals or adding that sunset clause everyone's talking about. Or he could push ahead and dare his MPs to actually rebel, calculating that when push comes to shove, most of them won't want to hand the Conservatives an easy win. But whatever happens, this episode tells us something important about where Labour is right now. For all the talk of party unity after they kicked the Tories out, for all Starmer's authority from that massive majority, there are still deep divisions. The left of the party hasn't gone away. They are watching, they are organized, and they are willing to fight on issues they think matter. And jury trials? That's exactly the sort of issue that cuts across party lines. It's not about left or right. Not really. It's about what kind of country we want to be. Do we want to be a country that maintains centuries-old protections for citizens even when it's inconvenient? Or are we willing to trade away fundamental rights for a bit of administrative efficiency? Right now, 39 Labour MPs have made their position clear. They think this proposal is, to use their word, madness, and they are prepared to fight it. Whether David Lammy's position becomes untenable remains to be seen. But one thing's for certain. This is a kind of political drama that makes British politics so endlessly fascinating. It's messy, it's chaotic, and it absolutely never gets boring. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.